Okay, so I'll present myself in 1 minute. I'm an artificial intelligence specialist, and I started out in the 80s. I registered my first word-to-vector AI patent in the early 80s, and I graduated from the Sorbonne. At the same time I was there, I created my own AI business. And I started right off with what is now Airbus in the defense projects and luxury projects. In fact, I've never stopped AI projects since. So in my presentation, there won't be a lot of varnish. I've installed AI in hundreds of projects around the world on almost every continent for the past years. So what I'll do is I'll just get into it. Let's get down to it, because now I'm going to be more on the American side. I'll be more inside IBM, Microsoft, Google, and I'll be looking at you from that point of view. So let me share my screen with you and see how this happens. Hopefully, yes. So now you can see it. Now let me run the start. Okay, let me see if you're okay with it. Okay, you see it. So you can see me, and I'm going to go back to my presentation. And if something technical comes up, well, then Richard will tell me. So I'm gonna dive right into my vision. First of all, I'm going to say taking humans beyond their limits. What's happening now, from my point of view, right? This is my point of view. I'm inside Google, I'm inside Facebook, I'm inside Twitter, and I'm looking at you. I've written a lot of bots in these social networks, and I look at people through them. So I'm talking about the rise and the supremacy of AI and AI cobots. And I'll of course be speaking about explainable AI. That's the key sub. Let's see where we stand. Okay. First of all, okay, so I have 2 books. I wrote a book on artificial intelligence. Second edition came out in February, but then I found out that people didn't understand AI that much, so we came up with another book. The book is full of what we just talked about. Now, I'm a mechanic. I'm a mechanic AI. That means I develop all the time. I develop every day. C++, Python, Java, AI algorithms, and I've been doing that for 30+ years. Okay, and there's no varnish in there. I've delivered like Disney, Air France. All these companies take the varnish off. So the first principle I'm going to say in terms of business is AI cannot explain AI. You can say whatever you want, and I'll show you. AI won't explain AI at all. You can't make it. If you have a contract with 100 million euros of spending, you have to have an insurance policy when you're signing a contract with a corporation. There's an insurance policy. You have to give the number and the amount. Okay, in millions of dollars. And you have to, it's mandatory. If you can't give an explanation of why you got to that result and that result is wrong, well, you're going to pay. And if it exceeds your premium, then you're going to have to pay out of your pocket. So, and humans can't explain AI in any case either. I'm going to show you that. So we're incredibly surpassed. What's happened since June 2020, we can't even imagine. But in the past 6 months, we've been surpassed. So it takes XAI to explain AI, and that's the subject here. So what I'm telling you here is, first, AI and social media and associated applications have access to billions of posts, okay? Remember, I'm talking to you from inside all of these corporations, some of which I worked for, okay? So when I'm saying I work, like you have Google, Amazon Web Services, IBM, Microsoft. Let's say I worked for 2 of them, okay? So I know what I'm talking about, and I'm saying here you have access to billions of post images, audio files of personal behavior. Now look at that word, behavior. Everyone's worried about private data. We're not worried about, we're looking at behavior, content, links, which likes you're doing. And that's the biggest source of information in the history of humanity, right? Nothing's ever been that big. So you have AI learning our behavior millions of days per day. You have millions of human days per day. So just imagine where that's going. So so what I'm doing here is I'm going to also tell you that you already know explainable AI. People say, well, I'd like to use AI and XI. You're using it every day. When you do Google search, okay, you enter your search and you have an optimized user interface, okay, which explains, it's practically explaining what you wanted. You wanted that, and then you can see if you're wrong and you can correct it. If you purchase something on Amazon, it'll because you purchased that, then you got that. So it's been used on us, and it's being used on us all the time. And of course, it wasn't called explainable AI, but I started back in the 80s because I had to explain why a fighter jet would go in this direction, that direction with AI, or other problems I can't talk about. These are defense projects. But in any case, you have bots scanning your mails every day long. So they say, if you live in X, so you might want to go to this restaurant and that restaurant. So you can see it's already being applied to you, okay? So it's not one day in the future. That's what I'm saying. It's now. Now, this is the kind of vision we get when we look at you, okay? So if you look at, you're going to see these little tags up here. So what I took at one point is I applied it to myself. I looked at everything I was watching on Netflix, because Netflix uses Boltzmann, restricted Boltzmann machines. At least, so they did it for years, but they're using other technology. And then you can put it in a PCA, and now you get a vision. This is you. This can be you, a group of yous, a group of people around you, like on Facebook. And you have this representation, okay, that's learning from big data, billions of days per day. Sometimes it's 50 petabytes per day, okay? So then the cloud uses the free information for AI for business, okay, to sell. So we're the resource, the AI is building up, and then they're spitting it back to us. So explainable AI starts the minute you start explaining. In fact, I'm explaining it right now, okay? This could be a vision of you. If I took all your posts, everything you do in your life, I could represent you here, and you would understand yourself, and then you could see how you're being directed towards purchases. I'm not going to use terms like manipulated, because I'm not in conspiracy theories. So then you have cloud platform AI that will transform the content into much more powerful AI algorithms with machines that we've never seen before. Machines with like 10,000 GPUs, 30,000 CPUs, $10 million, okay? So these systems are learning very quickly, much faster than us. So we think that they're taking private data, but they don't care about our private data. They want to see the behavior, and they want to learn from it. So now you have these cloud systems that are 10 times, 1 million times smarter than us. And we're going to have problems delivering AI because these AI algorithms are more powerful than the ones we can deliver because they have a lot of data to train, okay? So now let's get down to this. That way we can say that in the future, we'll probably be buying AI from cloud platforms that used us as free sources of information. We'll be paying them because they learn from us, okay? So now you get down to, I did this little poll on LinkedIn because I like to have a lot of fun here. So of course you have SHAP down here, which Gaeth talked about. And SHAP is in my book, chapter 4. You can, in Explainable AI, you have the code, you have it on GitHub, you have the mathematics, you have Lime, you have whatever you want, anchors. I wrote the main ones are in there, okay? So what I'm saying here is, what I found most interesting is you can explain AI looking at the weights. We'll see about that in a minute. Now just take a minute. You can explain it with Matplotlib. Sure, go ahead, try. And no, then the flaw is incredible. So now I have like 40% of people thinking, well, no, you're not going to use XAI. But then in the 60% of XAI, through subsequent posts, I found that maybe only 5% knew how to use it to implement. Remember, I'm a mechanic, so I develop these things. So in the programs you can get free on GitHub, you'll find the source code and you can run them directly in notebooks, okay? So So what I'm saying here is it's going so fast, and especially in the past 6 months, that even AI specialists are beginning to be lost. I was just an expert in a firm, in a world corporation, in a world energy corporation. I mean, they have offices all over the world. And we were talking about this, that some people know, but most data science just get lost in their everyday job, and then they can't follow these trends. You have to spend a lot of time. So I'm not going to go into the math, because that you can see that in my first book on artificial intelligence, and Shap is in the other one. We're going to go on to what explainable AI is really about. So now I want you just to look at this sentence, okay? You can be the tool of AI, or you can use AI as a tool. What I'm telling you now is it's gone so fast that AI is using us as a tool to pick up a lot of information. Now, how long do we want to be the tool, or we want to use it as a tool? So you just imagine 1 billion clones of you learning every day. 1 billion clones of you, like you're reading one of our books. You know, Joseph has fantastic books, so you can read his books. We're both edited by Pact. You have this 700-page book by Joseph. There's not a thing you'll miss. But by the time you go from page 50 to 60 in any of our books, well, Google, Amazon, IBM, Microsoft, Facebook, they're going to be running 1 billion clones of us in one day. So we can't catch up. It's game over. So AI is more than replacing us, because we're the consumers. So people are always afraid it's going to replace us. Not that much. They need us as raw material. So we're going to exist a long time. So what we need to do, and I'm going to be a pragmatic. Remember, I don't have any varnish anymore. I've been around for decades. But I'm going to say I'm going to master the AI tool for my benefit. Let's stop being raw material and using AI for our benefit. Okay, so let's see how this works. Okay, and I've done this many times in training, and I found that even on this page, people are lost. I'm not even talking AI for the moment, because you're saying, we think it's very simple, but it isn't very simple. It's extremely difficult to understand this. We're used to AI to saying 0 is bad, is no, and 1 is good. And let's do some sentiment analysis. And we can say, well, John doesn't like cats. Okay, that's probable, but okay, no, he likes cats. Okay, so you can have yes, probable, no, maybe, not very probable, probable. I just want you to think of something. You can do anything you want, but sometimes in one day, you will be all of these cases. You can say, oh yeah, I like my cat. It just came to see me. Oh no, oh gosh, it keeps bothering me. Go outside. Oh, maybe, yeah, okay, not very. We changed. Just think about when you make a decision. Should I change jobs? Oh yeah. Yeah, but the job is 2,000 miles away. Oh, no, I won't change the job. Well, maybe if the pay is high. Well, not very probable if the pay is not high. Well, come and give me the pay, I'll go there. So we're used to 1 and 0 is at the same time or not. It can be all of that. It can be 1, 0, and everything between 0 and 1 in one single day. So now you tell me how an AI algorithm can train and do that. But Google, Facebook, Microsoft, they know how to do that because they've been there to observe our behavior all day long. So in arithmetic, you say 1 times 1 equals 1. Wow, that's super easy. But then as Giuseppe and Gaia showed at one point, well, x times 1 equals 1. That seems easy, but now we're almost lost with that x. So now we're saying, what about AI? Where does AI come in? Well, you have this x times w, it's game over. I mean, you can do anything you want. I have never met somebody in these 30 plus years when you have, I have like corporations where I had like 500 users, 2 million customer orders coming in per day on 5 continents. And then when you get the peak of like an apparel system, 60 million customer orders coming in. And you have to run AI for the purchase orders, the supply chain, and the whole thing. Forget it. You're never going to be able to analyze X, and W is going to be even worse. You can't even look at the weights. We'll see how so we can't represent that. Forget it. I've never seen someone succeed. You can do it on paper. We can do it in presentations. I'm going to take you to a real life project, give you 60 million customer orders times, I forgot to say, times maybe 10 operations. Okay, so that's 600 million operations, and then on 5 continents. Okay, so it's going to be like 2 billion, 3 billion parameters just in customer orders with different ways. So we can see that's not possible. Okay, so we can't represent it. Just accept the fact that AI has surpassed us. It's very easy with toy data sets like Kaggle and all that. I'm gonna bring you 600 million records, and I'm going to build in a 1.5 billion parameter system. We don't even understand it. We just hope it'll work. Now, of course, here you have this little cat here, and here you have all these little cells. Okay, yeah, there can be millions of cells. Okay, now if someone can go into this image here and tell me, oh yes, it was a cat because right here in that square it was identified. In fact, this is an image I took from a neuromorphic representation, a neuromorphic computer in artificial intelligence by example. I spend days and nights running with one of the editors, Nengo, of neuromorphic computing. When you get into our brain and you try to represent that, you find that we're quickly surpassed by machine power. So there's no way. There's no way. So what I'm telling you is, the first thing is XAI. There's no way that we're going to make it without XAI, because it's easy to explain a model. I mean, explaining a model is about the easiest thing to do. But now I'm going to give you, remember 5G is coming up, okay? 5G is coming up. And with that, you're going to get IoT, ITT, if this, then that. You're going to get billions of new things coming in. And how are you're going to represent this and make a prediction? Well, good luck. So that's where they have all this power. Like LinkedIn has extreme power because it goes back to Microsoft. Microsoft has these supercomputers, okay? And they're using it. Someone asked about natural language processing. You can't imagine the level it's attained today. You don't even notice. I got the permission as a developer to run some of this on social networks. No one sees the difference. Okay, it's under control. I mean, I had my name registered. I was allowed to do 10, 15 questions, a 10-minute experiment. No one saw the difference. You go in, you ask questions, they answer. No one sees the difference. And no one understands, and no one can explain how it was done. So now let's get on to another point, right? Now let's look at this. Now here you have this. We all know this convolution neural network. Okay. I'd like anyone to go and tell me how he can identify what's in there looking at this, or looking at models of weights of 174,000 parameters, and go in there and look at the weights. And oh yeah, but that's how it was done, especially since we're going into total abstraction and that we're so far from the image, it's impossible even to relate it to it. Okay, so as you can see, you can't explain AI like that. If you go and see a customer, like I remember this big apparel customer that had like 6 million things to deliver, and you can't explain that way. Oh, sir, I'm going to explain. I'll tell you that. And the dropout, you can't. Okay, so this is something you have to forget. I'm going to be tough with even people I like. Forget it. You can try, but if I bring you on a customer site with all that data, you'll never make it that way. So now I'm taking this to another level. Now let's look at this one. This is anchors. It's in my book. You have the GitHub source code. Remember, I'm a mechanic. That's why maybe I talk like that. I've been developing and I hit over the head by corporations for like 30 plus years. And I've never worked for small ones. The smallest ones were maybe in 2 or 3 countries. So you get hit on the head all the time. So what I'm saying here is go to a customer and say, I'm going to tell you why this network found it was a cat. Look on the left. You see that you can see right here in that square that was why. Guy's going to say, you got to be kidding. I'm going to sue you. You're going to court. If that's the way you're going to explain it, you're going to court. Remember, I come from a mandatory explainable AI situation. I'm not in fiction. If you can't, you got to get your insurance policy out and give it to the customer. So I'm saying, look, you have this image of a cat. Then it's transformed into super pixels, and you can see in the middle, that's where we extracted what's a cat. And in 3 little things, anchors, look at that little cat, see these super pixels, look at that. So this is UX, this is a user experience, this is user interface. We're going from abstraction to clarity. Who needs math here? No one needs anything. You just give that to a customer, and you say, you see why he gave an answer? Do you understand? You see, you could see with 3 images. That's with anchors. It's in my book. You run it, works straight away. Okay, so you have the cat, breaks it down into these super pixels, and it will find the segment. Okay, now let's look at another application. I'm in windmills. Okay, I started working on windmills maintenance maybe 10 years ago. Okay, so we delivered a project for a major world energy producer. So the problem they have in maintenance is that you have to find defects in your windmills before they fall down. Some begin to vibrate, and then a blade can fall down and hit a tractor that's around it. So you don't want that to happen. So you have to organize maintenance. So honestly, I did it from the mathematical side. I wrote some extremely lengthy algorithms that would predict when you needed to go look at that windmill. Okay, with all the data I had enough with that. Then you look at the weather and things like that. But in any case, you can see the same principle. You have this windmill, you break it down into super pixels, and bam, you know where to look. So this doesn't require anything. This sums up the past 2 presentations. It shows you that I just erased the math for the user. Okay, and this is, you can write a program like it takes 3 or 4 lines to write this. Okay, if you go to my notebook, you write, you create your explainer, you load your images, you connect it to your algorithms, and that's it. Okay, so this is what you want your users to look at. And when you're having problems with your model, you can say, oh, it's not showing this part, it's showing another part, so I know what happened. Okay, so now then you have another plane. Remember, I worked a lot in aeronautics. I mean, aeronautics is really where I worked the most. Okay, I worked on building, using AI to build planes and using AI to maintain planes. I know, and I even can go down to where they got the metal. I spent so many times even down to the bolts and nuts on these airplanes. And I've been inside the cockpits of A380s and stuff like that. Okay, so what I'm saying here is you have this image, you have anchors again, breaks it down to super pixels, takes what's not necessary out, and there you have your airplane. So it's very easy to explain to a user, see, and they say, but how long did it take you to develop that? 5 minutes? I just loaded, I loaded a module and I ran it, and there you go. So why do you want to spend time with weights and all that stuff trying to give a CEO or users in the corporations a headache when you can just run a simple computer vision program connected to your algorithm using anchors that will explain it in something like what you can write it in 10 minutes? You can show it 5 minutes after. Why you want to spend your time on a paperboard with math? They won't even listen to you. They'll send you the lawyer. Okay, so now see the help sign here? So now we're going into Lime. Remember, Gaeth was speaking about Lime, so I don't need to go. So, but I'm going to explain it in a different way. Okay, explain it in my mechanic, the developer, the geek. Okay, I've been I've been a geek. I used to, when I was younger, I'd go like 80 hours, 90 hours a day, 80 hours a week developing. I was your typical 1980s geek with all the pizzas and all that fast food, developing like crazy. Okay, so I slowed down in the 90s. Now I'm just, sometimes I limit myself to 16-hour days sometimes, but I just love AI. So right here, I'm going to give you another definition. Local, interpretable, model agnostic explanations. Let's go back to model agnostic. What did I just show you? I showed you one slide before that I don't care about the model. Real explainable AI algorithms don't even care about your model. Why would you even look in the model when you have the explanation? Okay, so that's what model agnostic means. It means it doesn't even care about your model. It doesn't use your model. So what I did here in the Lime chapter in my Explainable AI book, you have all this written down. I copied this from the notebook, in fact, from a Jupyter notebook on Google Collaboratory that I had there. So what I did is I just built an AutoML. Why do you need developers? You don't need developers anymore for AI. You run a few algorithms and you just choose the best model, the one with the best score, and then you use that to get an answer. And then you can get an explanation as a list. So local means something different for me. It means I'm facing a customer that's saying, what the heck is that answer? What's that result you did that's costing me 150,000 euros because you're sending a truck in a supply chain over there to that warehouse and not where it's supposed to be, okay? Or why did you read those emails and why did you produce this and that? Or why did you read the data? So you can always say, oh, I wrote this AutoML. Customers will say, I don't care. I can explain as a list. The heck if I understand what you're showing. How do you want me to understand something that someone sent as an order from, I don't know, Poland, for example, because in my AI systems, I often have workflows that will parse emails and make automatic decisions so people don't have to wait for the other guy to read his email. So A sends a message to B, and B is not there. A is not going to wait for B because there's money involved. So B has a machine learning program that will read the message, give a prediction, and give an explanation. But you look at this page and say, help, I don't understand a single thing in there. Might take, if you want to train someone, it might take, 5 days. So here, let's go back a bit. And let's look how this can be done, okay? So let's say you want to use it. We saw anchors just before for images, right? Anchors is a very nice thing. You go to the super pixels and then you choose the thing. Great. What about natural language? What do you do with that? Because that's tough, okay? Of course, there are other methods. I spoke about SHAP. There's the what if tool. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of other contrastive methods. In fact, there's no good method. There's no best method. The best method is one that works for your project. So what you want to do is use all that AutoML to find the best algorithm. Then want to use all that explainable AI to get the best explanation. You want to put all that together and get the job done pretty quickly, a lot faster than when the CEO is going to say, why don't I just go to Amazon Web Services and kick you out of the company? Okay, so right here, you have the input to an AI model. Like this rocket is cool, but I was wondering how much it was real or not. So let's suppose that someone in a company wants to separate the messages about space from the messages on electronics because doesn't have time to read all that, and he wants it to be summed up. He says, I don't want to waste my time reading stuff. You think I'm going to spend my time on Twitter or Facebook? I don't even care. I have an assistant that reads emails for me, but I'd like summaries. So go find me the best stuff on space on the web. Go send a crawler out and bring me that so I can read it on Saturday morning. Okay, can you do that? Well, you can't do that without explainable AI, and you can't send them math equations. You can't. So how do you want the user to believe you? Okay, you're not going to send them a math explanation. He won't even read you. He won't even listen to you. Okay, you got it. So what we do here is we're going to use like data sets. And this is, I'm just copying the code. This is code copied from my notebooks. Okay, I could have used Python, but that would have been, showing notebooks in a presentation is not that great. So now you retrieve these billions of posts or millions, or in a small data set, you'll get maybe 2,000. Okay, but remember, Facebook has 2 billion members and more than 500 million on WhatsApp, plus LinkedIn 500 million, that's 2 billion. You take a third of them that are dead. There are a lot of dead people that are still on these networks. And then you take another, but you still have 1 billion to look at, okay? So you have this raw example where you can have this, and how are you going to say, oh, I'm going to give you a prediction. This is about space. Gosh, where's the explanation? How can you prove that to me? What is this software? I mean, I don't want it. So we take the data, we convert these into vectors, as you know, and then here you go. You have this nice UX, UI, XAI, whatever you want to call it, where you can have a CEO or any user saying, wow, do I like your artificial intelligence solution. You made the prediction, it's space, and you highlighted the words that did it. You are the perfect solution for our company, right? That's what I'm driving at. The perfect solution for the company and for the corporations and for you as a developer is to reach this kind of level where you have this user interface, you're using XAI, and you're using user experience where you know that people don't want to waste time anymore. Okay, and then after you can even create a little dictionary with all these words. I'm not going to go into details here, but you could create a little dictionary. And then you could sum up the dictionary. And every time the person clicks on the word, you can have these articles. There's so much thing you can do with nice XAI because people are fed up with AI in corporations because they don't understand it. So in a corporation, if you show what you're doing, they don't want it because they go on Facebook, Google, and everything's so simple. You go on YouTube, you select a video, it just shows you another video. Buy a book at Amazon, shows you another book. You go in a corporation, you get all these screens no one understands. With this kind of stuff, they understand. So what I'm driving at here, don't worry, I'm reaching the conclusion. The future of AI is AI to XI is Cobots. So what is a cobot? A cobot is a collaborative bot between humans and bots. It seems so simple, doesn't it? But if you don't use AI for yourself, if you don't use AI for yourself, well, you're going to only be the raw material for other AI programs. So what you want to do is enhance. You want to become an enhanced human. You don't want to be connected with brain-computer interfaces with chips in your brain because you can be smarter than that for years. You want to use artificial intelligence as a tool, and now you're in a cobot relationship, and your users will be that way, okay? So now AI has become an overwhelming intelligent, but it's still a tool. A human's not a tool, but computes and needs tools. Remember, we can't compute as fast as a computer. That's impossible. No one can beat a chess computer. No one can beat anyone. So we need to make both work together. Now, let's be careful. There's this little star here. Go down. Look what I'm saying here. You think there? You're already late because they're using XAI. You already have senior cobots with AI that are millions of times more efficient and faster, and they have XAI. So they're XAIing us. In fact, you can say they're X-raying us, as I showed you with that sphere, the PCA sphere in the beginning. So either you use the tool or you are the tool. That's the choice. That's my tough veteran AI experience I'm giving it to you. Use the tool or be the tool. So if you want more, you have these two books, Artificial Intelligence by Example. Of course, you have Joseph's book, which is excellent. Okay, he's a fan. In fact, never read only one book. Read several of our books. Joseph is a fantastic deep thinker. I'm more here. You have these books where I give you the explanation, the math, and then I just go into the programs. I used to write a lot of programs. I want it to work and deliver. I'm the delivery guy. I'm the guy that brings you the pizzas. And then you have this one with explainable AI, but look at that little arrow. You read this one first, you go to that one, and then you go back to this one and you try to apply that to what you learned in the first one. Now you can find me on Amazon, you can find me on LinkedIn, and thanks for listening. With that,
Thank you, Denis. Thank you so much for your talk. Definitely, I think people have enjoyed. I think the first comment itself that we got today was, wow, from the 80s. So you have been working decades on AI, and that itself explains how much depth and knowledge that you have about AI. And so truly said, we can either be the raw material or we can use AI to our own advantage, I think. And explainable AI is so, so important, especially, and we have to go beyond it when it comes to predictions. And I just loved your statement when I had a talk with you, and it was that we need to be, realistic, neither optimistic and nor pessimistic. So
yeah,
this
I
is so
remember that
important.
conversation. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think people have really enjoyed the small examples that you have explained in today's talk, and I think more people will connect to you slowly. So thank you so much, Denis, and
You're
let
welcome.
us see if people have any more questions